A car bomb exploded on the outskirts of a northern Syrian city on Monday, killing at least 19 people, all but one of them women, and leaving more than a dozen wounded, hospital workers said. According to Associated Press, the car detonated next to a vehicle carrying mostly female agricultural workers on the outskirts of the city of Manbij. The dead included 18 women and one man. A nurse at the hospital, Mohammad Ahmad, told the Associated Press. Another 15 women were wounded, some of them in critical condition, according to the local Syrian civil defense. No group immediately claimed responsibility for the explosion. It was the seventh car bomb explosion in Manbij in just over a month, said Munir Mustafa, the deputy director of civil defense. Manbij in northeastern Aleppo province continues to witness violence even after the downfall of President Bashar Assad in December. Turkish-backed factions, known as the Syrian National Army, have clashed with the US-backed Kurdish-led Syrian Democratic Forces. The factions took the city from the SDF in early December during a lightning insurgency that toppled President Bashar Assad. A resident said the car that detonated was parked on the roadside. The recurring attacks have forced residents to become more vigilant, he said. Most of the explosions took place at night. A car bombing in Manbij on Saturday killed 4 civilians and wounded 9, state news agency Sana reported, citing civil defense officials.
Russia held talks with the new leader of Syria, Ahmed al-Shara, at which, in addition to compensation for damages, it was demanded to extradite former President Bashar al-Assad, whom Moscow is sheltering. But according to Sergei Danilov, deputy director of the Center for Middle Eastern Studies, the extradition of Assad by Russia to the new government in Syria is absolutely disadvantageous. He told to Glavred media outlet that because then he will start talking and obviously his fate will be completely different from Gaddafi's. He will be tried, not killed. He will start talking about everything, about Russia, about how they planned strikes on Aleppo together, were involved in drug business and many other things which are very disadvantageous for Russia. Therefore, in fact, not even financial compensation for the Syrian cities destroyed by Russian bombing, but the transfer of Assad is a serious problem for Russia in the demands that the new government of Syria has de facto put forward, the expert added. According to him, therefore, the Russians will try to act traditionally, to look for the weak points of the new government, to demonstrate their usefulness, to create problems, and at the same time to offer their solution to bribe the right people. They will also look for personal gain for Shara or certain people in his circle to pit certain factions of Islamists who come to power against each other, to create problems for them and to solve them after some time when they become a threat to Shara or the new government. That is, Russia will use all the gangster methods that were used by criminal groups in the 1990s in Russia and Ukraine. And in general, the Russian Federation will invest in instability in Syria. They will invest resources so that different factions fight among themselves, so that radical extremist forces on both sides, among the Islamists, the remnants of the former regime, the Kurds, and ethno-confessional minorities, antagonize, he added. According to him, the goal is one: to reduce the legitimacy of power and make it weak. If Shara completely refuses to play by Russia's rules, its best option would be to turn Syria into an uncontrolled state where there are many centers of power, so that in each region or city there are separate field commanders with whom it will be necessary to negotiate, because then a strong, centralized state will not be able to expel Russian troops. Can Turkey and the US prevent this? It is unknown, because this is always a dynamic process. There is never a clear answer to such questions in advance. Why don't smart people start a war? Because war never has a predictable outcome. Unless you have a 10 or 100 times advantage over your opponent. In the Syrian scenario, there is no such advantage. So theoretically, it is possible to thwart Russia's plans, but in practice, no one knows the answer.
Syria's interim president has made his first trip abroad, traveling to Saudi Arabia in a move likely trying to signal Damascus' shift away from Iran as its main regional ally. According to Associated Press, Ahmad al-Shara, once aligned with al-Qaeda, traveled to Riyadh on Sunday alongside his government's foreign minister, Asad al-Shaibani. A video by the Saudi Broadcasting Authority showed the two men disembarking a plane and being greeted at the airport by Prince Mohammed bin Abdul Rahman, deputy governor of Riyadh. The Saudi state television trumpeted the fact that the first trip by al-Shara, first known internationally by the nom de guerre Abu Muhammad al-Golani, would make Riyadh his first destination. Saudi Arabia had been among the Arab nations that poured money into insurgent groups that tried to topple former President Bashar Assad after Syria's 2011 Arab Spring protests turned into a bloody crackdown. However, its groups found themselves beaten back as Assad, supported by Iran and Russia, fought the war into a stalemate in Syria. That changed with the December lightning offensive led by al-Shara's Hayat Tahrir al-Sham. The group was once affiliated with al-Qaeda but has since denounced its former ties.